everyone, my name is Michelle Vinicurve, and I am a blogger of my own blog called The World of Autism. And I know one of the things that I've been doing on my blog is providing guest interviews, and I do this because I know how much that it really means to the community, like not just providing my own experiences growing up with autism, but also to bring on different insights from individuals who live with autism that are self-advocates. We got professionals, therapists, educators, anyone that you name it, they come on and to provide their own insights about with autism. And who I have on here today he is a self-advocate himself. His name is Andrew. How are we doing today, Andrew?
We're doing great, Michelle. And I must say I do like that purple sweater of yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to kick this off here by letting you share about your experiences growing up with autism.
Well, growing up with autism was not an easy task. For some people, it was like a clean sweep. But like anyone else, such as myself, it wasn't a clean sweep. Considering that I was born in the early 90s, and the 90s was particularly a decade where autism was starting to take a notice, it was still a difficult task. There was lack of services. There was only so much you can do for someone who has special needs. Over time, my parents have advocated for me a lot throughout my life, but there was going to be a point where I needed to advocate for myself. Now, of course, the first 7 years of my life, I was down in Bayside, New York, and during, like I said, and even though it was the 90s and people were still trying to know about autism, services was lacking, especially in the city. But as time rolled on, preferably from when I became 7, we found a very unique program at a school in OU BOCES called the Strive program. And basically, the Strive program is pretty much a school for kids and teens with autism, both mild to major. So I spent like most of my life there. Now, just because I spent the majority of my life in special ed, that didn't mean I didn't get any special treatment. Well, education-wise, they still taught me history. They still taught me math. They still taught me science. And they even taught me about sex ed, but that's another interview. Overall, through there, I learned a lot of things. The only thing that was lacking in that school was like social learning. In other words, like socializing with people who may not be on a disability, or socializing with other people with disabilities. Because Strive program and some other BOCES schools were so segregated, which is kind of sad when you think about it, how there's some segregation like that even in the 21st century. We didn't fully understand Down syndrome or amputated leg or all other types of disability. So the natural reaction was for us was we got shy or we freaked out because of the lack of social skills. Not only that, but when it came to regular socializing with regular where people without disability needs, that became a little bit of a challenge, not just through me, but for everyone else. But we managed to crack some lessons with like speech therapy and how to act and what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. They still managed to crack some lessons, but it had to be done in secret because as you know, in the education system, you can only teach what you can teach for those of special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most of the 12 years of my life, I spent up at Orange Coast BOCES in the Strive program. But the final 2 years, as I spent time at Rockland BOCES with the Cove program within Tappan Zee High. Now, during my time there is when the walls started to crack. And at the same time, time, time is where I found where the origin of my public speaking started. And and I say origin of public speaking because the origin of my advocacy is at a different perspective, but we'll get to that in another interview. But so yeah, during my time in Rockland BOCES, it was the rules were a little different. I did manage to I mean I was in certain rooms that the high school could provide for the Cove program, but at the same time I felt a sense of encouragement to interact with students beyond on special ed. And here I was under the impression that I would be stared as a freak or be bullied by them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was bullied, but 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 it was that during my time in OU BOCES. In Tappan Zee, however, it was different. Everyone understood. Good. They did not. They understood more about the disability and the other sense of diversity. And I tell you one thing, Michelle. If you ever were a student at Tappan Zee High, you would have gotten along with all the students there. And they're good because everyone's there. You know, is very diverse. And you know, no, we need more high schools like that. They can't all be so secluded in ways. So, mm, so eventually, I managed to make some friends and from Tappan Zee High, and even and when I left Tappan Zee High for graduation, people do change when you leave high school. For one thing, they may not be the good teenager. They may be that snarky adult, or vice versa. They may have been a bad teen or but they become a good adult. Um, so it varies on the situation. Like for me, like in one case, when I met up with some of my friends from my high school days, some of them were kind of shocked at some of my revelations and things, to a point where they said, "What has college done to you?" It didn't do anything. I just changed my views. News. And while we're discussing college, as soon as I left Tappan Zee High, I realized that my options for colleges were very limited because I had an IEP diploma. And I don't need to get into the whole IEP thing to you, but for those who don't understand what an IEP diploma, it's basically an individual or set program for providing like a set plan and an ideas of what may come next. I can tell you what comes next. Nothing, because in the end, and when you have an IEP, you're pretty much marked of not having a future in some ways. That means, and it does frustrates me to no end that there are colleges that always say, "Oh, we are all for diversity. We are all inclusive," and yet you deny us when you deny a student who has an IEP diploma, you're holding back on your words. Right, right. You're based for like saying you can only get in, just don't have an IEP. And that is not right, and that is not fair. Yeah, because why should you force someone on to take another diploma when they spend 21 years of their life in special ed to get to finally get to their dreams? How is that fair? It's not. Because rather than enforcing someone for a GED, just embrace the IEP diploma and show that you really mean you're all for inclusion. And I've seen that so many times, like times. But there are programs who understand and the inclusion of IEP diplomas. And that program that I was in was called CEP, which is short for College Experience Program. Now bear in mind, it's called Experience Program, meaning that it's only a certain type of experience. I mean, did taught me some independent skills, but at the same time, they got you to be included in certain classes within the within the College of St. Rose where CEP is conjoined with. Like for me, during my first year in CEP, I did most of the CEP classes. But as I rolled on, I found myself included in elementary French. Yes, I know I could have taken something else, but I never learned French in school, so why not? So in the end, and I felt like during my time in at St. Rose, I felt like I really should amp up my public speaking. And wouldn't you know it, one of the classes was a public speaking class. But of course, when I took my public speaking class, it has often been ended me in trouble when I'm outside and share of what I've learned, especially to my parents. And of course, as typically seen when you share knowledge what you learn in college to your parents, their parents get all snarky in their boomer way, saying, "Well, you think you're so smart." Or, like, hey, you wanted me to go to college, shut up. So so overall, well, in the end, I managed to get some lesson, graduated from St. Rose, had to hear Chuck Schumer's indulgent in go for it speech. And I say that lightly because, well, I get you're from Jersey, Michelle, but if you're a New Yorker like me, you would understand the suffering of that speech. Anyway, so now that I left St. Rose, what's next? For a while, I was unemployed, right? And I was thinking to myself, well, I got to have a starting point in order to kick off my public speaking career. In comes Marshall's. I started there. I worked for a while there, and then as time rolled on, I got a second job at Burlington, and everything's going well. But where's the public speaking part? Well, I have spoke at a couple of schools and a couple of nonprofits, but all the while I've encountered a mentor of mine, Jesse Saperstein. Oh, if he's watching this, hey Jesse. Anyway, anyways, so me and so when I went to some of his public speaking, I come to realize that having him as a mentor, I can learn a lot from him. In some ways, he was kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of public speaking, minus the death by Vader. Although I have to admit, there are some times where I mentor and him, and when there are times when he advocates for me, I return the favor and advocate for him. As in some ways, he is a bit older than me, so it's almost like having an older brother, and the fact that I could tease him about knowing all the girls from Hooters. Yeah. But overall, no. Through him, I learned. Through him and my tutor, I kept pushing to my public speaking career, and I'll keep doing that. So, in any case, Michelle, if you if you know a high school or a college that is looking for a public speaker with autism and needs any type of knowledge regarding in inclusion and anything like that, look no further.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool to know that. And it's funny, your experiences with public speaking, they're like it I can kind of relate in a way because in regards to keynote speaking when I first started, like I do have some experiences with it because I started off my very first keynote speech I did, I was 18 years old in senior year of high school. And uh, at that time in the school district, in the school district they were choosing one student with a disability representing from each high school in the district. And they chose everybody that year of being a keynote speaker, getting to share their story and everything. I got picked in my high school because of how much I've gone through and everything. And like they felt like I was a success story in a way. So I got to share my story. And then ever since then, there was connections and connections of people like reaching out and everything to my parents and stuff in general. So that's where things kind of kicked off from there. And yeah, unfortunately, with things going on right now with the pandemic, it kind of slowed down with that. But you know, don't give up about that. And that's interesting about how because of your interaction with Jesse through going through one of his events, like keynote speaking events, how you guys became friends and stuff, and how he like a friend could be a mentor as well. That's I love that message so much because it just it's true. Friends really do help each other out in anything, and I could tell like with you guys that you guys like help each other. You're advocating for each other because that's one of the things that friends do for each other. They help each other out through anything. So that is awesome to hear that. But also the main topic about inclusion that you know you were saying about with the college experience program, correct?
Correct.
That you went through. So, the community college that I went to, that I graduated almost a couple of years ago now, it was Brookdale Community College. It's one of the well-known community colleges in New Jersey, and through that college, they actually provide a program where they give individuals with disabilities a chance that did outgrow, like let's say that they were still continuing in high school till the age of 21 and they wanted to still get an experience with college at the same time to gain employment experience, like work experience. They through Brookdale Community College, they have a program called the Catch Program. So they actually do double. They do two things. They give college experience for those with disabilities at the same time that they are as for people to gain work experience too. So like these kind of programs really do like this is what people need to keep an eye out is on resources like that because this is where like we do need to provide more resources so that way everyone's included and that way everyone has a chance of doing what they really want to do. You really brought up that good point. That was
Absolutely. Because, I mean, to the colleges who include people with IEP diplomas, you deserve a huge round of applause because what you guys are doing is a great example on how other colleges could follow in your footsteps. And this college of yours that you mentioned, in, something community, what was it again?
Brookdale Community College.
Brookdale, Brookdale Community College. And if more colleges in Jersey followed that example, well, there wouldn't be so much high frustration. If all, and because no, for those with IEPs, you'll be lucky enough to get into a community college. Which I mean, this is like when we're like living in a generations where there's so many types of changes coming around and so little time. And in all honesty, I find that colleges who deny IEP diplomas is kind of like a violation of the Disability Act, which is 31 years old to this year.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct about that because everyone does have the right to attend college if they wish to. You know that there's so many different kinds of schools and everything out there that people can go into and stuff, but especially for those that really want to go into college, like do not give up about it and that there is a lot that are out there. Like for me, I started off in a community college and then I decided to go back and pursue my 4-year degree, which I am happy to say I'm almost done with my first semester of it. It's through Purdue University Global. By the way, kudos to Purdue because of where I requested for my own accommodations and modifications and stuff. And not even within the day, they emailed me right away back saying that I was approved and everything through all the documentations and stuff like that and they sent right out to my professors and everything. Like they said, for every semester they're going to be providing that kind of accommodations and stuff. So just saying that, like definitely advocate and get those resources that you need and stuff to do well. And in terms of also with inclusion in schools and stuff, like as a paraprofessional, like for me, I work in a public school district that does use in the classroom that does use ABA techniques. And what's nice is that we're in a public school setting. It makes it feel more inclusive because you do get to interact with other children and everything. So I think more stuff like that, Andrew, if you agree about that, that there should be more like that out there, that makes it more inclusive.
Yes, because there are like students out there who have IEPs, but are still managed to challenge the ability of having that diploma that goes beyond on what the diploma expects out of them, such as yourself with working for this for a school district and going to Purdue. Do I don't know if you have an IEP or not, but I'll say this: hearing everything thing that you have done just proves my point on how we can go beyond the IEP, but at the same time, colleges should just really acknowledge it as well. Well, one of the natural things of having of being on the spectrum, and I say spectrum because it seems more appropriate. And one things I have on the spectrum is noticing patterns. And I use that ability of noticing patterns when it comes to diploma acceptance. Because I see people with disabilities going to college, and I was like, wait a second, how are they getting into college when they have an IEP? But then when I talk to one of the people with disabilities, like for those in like spinal dysphoria or those born with one leg or youth arthritis, they reveal that they have a GED or another type of diploma. And then I try to put two and two together using my little skills of autism, and that's when it clicked to the whole IEP and GED, because then I realized, because that's how I was starting to research. I used my normal brain, and then I used my autism side of the brain to put two and two combined. In other words, use the yin and yang method.
Exactly. Exactly. Andrew, we are gonna wrap things up
Oh,
here, but
sorry. I didn't even we
it's
have time
okay.
for questions. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It kind of felt this felt like more like a natural conversation going, which is awesome, That's how it should be feeling like, you know? So I think that was awesome. And the last thing that I want to wrap this up with, like what is your one tip that you have for individuals with autism?
My one tip for anybody who has autism, whether it be with Asperger's, non-Asperger's, or any type of form of autism, whether it be nonverbal or rect, and my advice to you, do not let autism define you for who you are. You may have autism, but autism does not have you.
Exactly. Exactly. In part of you, but that doesn't completely define you as a person. Awesome. That was awesome. Good point. Thank you, Andrew, so much for coming on to share your story.
Thank you, you as well.